compensation during your current term. It applies to this board. My suggestion is if you want to address this matter, that it be addressed in a code amendment that would be operational on a kind of a going forward basis, and you also address it in your budget, that you budget for these, quote, stipend increases in your next budget coming next year, and that you could approve a code amendment that would make an adjustment to the stipend, but it can't be retroactive, it would have to be prospective, it would have to adjust compensation for the board of fire and police commission members on a going forward basis. They have a one-year term, each of them, that gets renewed, so once their current one-year term expired, they would be able to receive that increase in their compensation upon their reappointment. Those are my comments.
Trustee DeGraw?
I have a question. Currently, the fire and police board are in a holding position. Is that correct? I think that you guys were asked to resign, and you asked the mayor to allow you to continue until you finished your hiring.
We were asked to resign. Is there Commissioner Brownlee? I'm sorry.
I'm just, I mean, are you allowing that 1 second? Do we have anything on that? Okay. Well, okay.
I'd like to hear it, yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure she was doing our question before I asked.
Well, I just wanted clarification on that.
Okay. Go ahead.
We received a letter and asking us to resign. We also sent a letter back to the mayor advising her that we were right in the middle of testing and right in the middle of hiring and right in the middle of having several hearings. Had we went ahead and resigned as she asked, we would not have been able to go forward with any of that legally. Once we resigned, that means that the commission was kaput, and any decisions that we would have made would have been valid, would not have been valid. They would have been no good. So they would have had to come back, and it would have cost the village money to go into court and try to find out why we made decisions once we had all resigned from the commission. So it wasn't that we did refuse, we just simply did not do it because of what was standing in front of us that had to be done in order for the village to be able to go forward.
I think the letter made it appear as though you had refused to resign, the way it was worded, so that was a concern of mine. Said you all flat out were not going to resign.
We actually told at that moment we could not resign.
Okay.
We felt that we would not be able to resign, and at the very next meeting, when we were asked that same question at a meeting, that was the answer that was given. We had everything coming at us at that same time, and we had about 4 hearings also, and we would not have been able to make decisions on any of that and been legal in doing so once we had resigned our commission.
I have a couple more questions.
You need a response from them with their questions, or is this just questions for us?
No, it's to them. Okay. At the last meeting, Mr. Brownlee, you stood before us and said that this was the most qualified board, and you remember what you said. The question that I have is with that, you guys have a copy of the manual, you have a copy of the statute, and it indicates that the board can only meet for 2 meetings, can conduct 2 meetings a month where there's a pay, right? Right? Okay, and on several occasions in the past, stipend, I'm sorry, correction, stipend, yeah, okay. But in the course of that, over the last year, you've conducted more than 2 meetings a month, and you have been paid, right?
Right.
Okay, so how does that balance? Because if you've been overpaid and you know the statute then the question is, how does it get justified? Because according to the statute,
Which statute you talking about?
well, I'm
That's
talking about
code.
the one for the Fire and Police
No,
Commission.
no. That's a code, it's not statute.
Well, it's in here, you go back and you read it.
No, I read that.
Well,
It's a code, the
okay.
village code. Has nothing
Well,
to
if
do
it's
with statute.
violated, it's violated, right?
Right.
Okay, so how do we address that issue?
In what sense?
Well, if you're overpaid, how do you, and you know that you're only allowed 2 payments a month for the stipend, how do you address that issue?
At the time that those funds were allocated, we were not aware of that.
You've been on the board for how long?
The board, the statute, there is no statute that governs the board. The regulations that govern the board, that govern the commission, has nothing to do, we have no access to the code that you're referencing. We didn't know that was in the code, first. Secondly, anytime, we don't call meetings. Meetings come about as a result of circumstances that occur. For example, a hearing. That's a meeting. Anytime you have more than 2 individuals getting together to talk about business relevant to the board, to the commission, that is a meeting. So when you have a hearing, we're not calling a meeting. Circumstances calling a meeting, and the statute dictates that that's what should happen.
So where in the statute does it say that you get paid for the,
It's not in your statute, it's in the code.
and it's in the code
It's in the code.
that you get paid for a hearing?
No, ma'am.
I don't think
No,
that that's
ma'am.
in there. But all I'm saying is that in order to address this, I'm trying to understand where it is that you all have come to the realization that you should be paid more than you're currently being paid according to the code, okay, because that's what you said, code. And so as a result of that, if it hasn't changed, how do you bill for it to the village, but it isn't a modified or revised?
That was a stipend, as I said, and at the time, we were not aware of that provision in the code.
Okay, all right. Is what?
Before we came on board, that's the way it was presented.
Okay.
Even when you were on board, that's the way it was presented.
I think that when this issue came up at our last discussion, it was decided that we would go back and abide by the code that was on the books. Things that happened previously, and when all this came to our attention, we reverted back to go to what the ordinance stated about the number of meetings. So that's where we are. And on that basis, I think that you all have submitted enough paperwork to make us take a look at it for review, take into consideration, perhaps revamp it slightly. But as the attorney said, the state law regarding compensation for commissioners and elected officials, we can't do until the next budget, which will come up next week. I know that you all laid out some information here in terms of the testings and those types of situations. So we have to try to decide what, if anything, we can do about your attendance at that in order and in regards to any sort of compensation for that. But as it stands right now, we are operating by the ordinance that's on the books. We cannot change that until we go to our budget. Am I correct?
Yep, those are the 2 things. You need to change the code, the ordinance, the village code, and you need to address it as a budgetary matter. They should be done together.
And what I can appreciate is the information that was provided to the board in terms of what goes into what you do as commissioner, the number of times that you have to meet when it comes to testing, qualifications, and being there to oversee that particular operation of the contractor and vendor provided for the village.
Madam Pro Tem, that was not our primary concern in terms of being compensated now. When that code was written, when that ordinance was adopted, whoever voted for it did not take into consideration that anytime you have 3 members meeting, getting together to discuss business about the commission, that is a meeting. Now, when you have a hearing, That's not initiated by us. That's not a meeting called by us. The state, statute, the regulations governing the commission, they determine and dictate when we're supposed to test and the protocols for those testing. So whoever decided to put that ordinance together, apparently they were not aware of the significance of all of the areas that need to be covered when you are talking about a board or commission of this nature. If someone files a complaint, the chief or one of the fire commission or the chief of police files a complaint against an officer, disciplinary hearing, that has to take place within 30 days. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Had we resigned, then we would have been interfering with people's right to exercise their constitutional due process, a right to a hearing, a speedy hearing, and a fair hearing by a competent board. So we're not here to demand and try to extract anything from this board, from this village. What we're saying is that when you go into deliberation, here's what's happening. Here's what you need, here's what you have, and this is what we need in order to function as a board. Whether or not we continue as board members, that's up to this committee. Strictly up to you. But until it's time for us to leave, I will not abandon my post. I refuse to do that. And unless you can get somebody to replace me and step in when I step out, I will be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Pro Tem,
Trustee Rivers?
I'd just like to clear up, I'd like the attorney maybe to clear this point up with me, because I've heard different, I was told that a city commissioner could not be fired or removed unless their term had expired. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney?
There's a process for removal, but there's a process for removal.
I mean, you're speaking of disciplinary?
Yeah, for not doing their duties, there's a process in your code for removing any appointed official for any board, committee, or commission. But also, the law is when, Mr. Brownlee, if his term is up, if it's expired, nobody gets appointed to replace him. He continues to serve until he can continue to serve as long as he wants to. If his term was to expire and nobody gets appointed and Mr. Brownlee chose not to show up, then the seat would be vacant, and the law covers for that too. These individuals, if their terms are now expiring, they continue to serve, they continue to exercise the authority of that board until they're either replaced by this board confirming an appointment, or by them choosing not to show up anymore, in which case it would create a vacancy.
I just wanted to say that, and I served on the board with both of you, but your statement at the last meeting, I got phone calls from residents that said, what makes them more qualified than anyone else? Now, and as we all are appointed to various commissions, we all come in, and the majority of the village's commissions don't require any qualifications. There are some commissions that you develop a level of qualifications by that commission. Fire and police is one of them. But to come in and make a statement and say that you all are the most qualified and no one else can do it, that one, I think, alarmed the public, those who were present, because they can come in and they can attend the same seminars that you all have participated in, I've participated in. I'm certified just like the rest of you. But the point I'm making is that coming in the door, none of us were qualified over any other resident who wanted to serve in that capacity until you moved into the training and learned and took the modules and became certified. So that's the difference, but it didn't come off like that, and I want to share that.
I apologize if someone got the impression that I was being arrogant. I was simply stating facts. You're talking about what can be, I'm talking about what is and what has been.
What is
by
now?
That, by now. What I meant by that was that there's a series of training that we go through. You've been through them.
Right.
And if you go through that series a number of times, then there's a level of competence that you develop.
Absolutely.
A layperson doesn't have it. Now,
Right,
that's not to say you're not
I'm just saying that
qualifiable.
just didn't come across that way, and that's why I'm sharing it with you.
Okay. We're gonna stop this discussion because I think you made the point, you did not want to offend anybody, we accept apologies. If you came across a little too strong, that's all that's necessary. But the matter that's on the agenda is discussion regarding compensation. And just to say again, we cannot do anything unless there's something special that comes up to us that we can until the next budget.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, moving on to item number 7. And this is for a discussion regarding residency requirements by the police and fire commissioners. This item was discussed at the September 24, 2014 LLOC meeting. Now, what I have been informed is that the discussion on this residency requirement is going to have to go into executive session before it's presented to the public because it regards personnel. So, we are going to have to table this for an executive session discussion.
I do have a confidential memo that may not be something that addresses the issues that you asked for. But I would recommend, it's on the agenda that this be discussed in a future executive session. Next, we'll give you an opportunity to read through the memo with the history and then.
Okay, well, you can submit the memo to us, and then we can try to schedule the next day so we can have this discussion. Okay. Moving on to item number 8, discussion of a proposal to utilize TPI building code consultants to provide inspection and plan review services on a temporary basis in the code department. Mr. Myers?
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Board, this is found in your packet on page 66. This item was on the agenda September 24th, however, we were not able to address it. Just give you a little background. Code enforcement, the code department, I wrote this memo September 24th. Code department is in need of additional assistance on an as-needed basis. We recently had a code officer to retire, and we have a code officer and account specialist out on sick leave. Currently, we only have 2 code officers that are serving the department, and this is something I've already done. I've already brought TPI in based on the time frame that was needed. I brought them in to perform temporary inspections for us based on the various codes. Also with TPI, they'll be providing inspections and plan reviews. They are very known in the area, the Chicagoland area. They are currently working in Bellwood, Bensonville, Oak Park, Countryside. As a consultant firm. The rate of pay is $84 an hour. This part of $84 an hour. This rate is not based on inspection, meaning if they come out for an hour, they can do 3 or 4 inspections, which is good for that rate. That is a going rate for the area. Just a little background, I've used them a couple of weeks ago because it was needed, because inspection was backed up, people calling in, and residents received inspection 2 or 3 weeks later, which is not acceptable to me. From a code perspective. Nevertheless, the reason before you tonight is for if any large projects comes up that we need their assistance, then they'll be able and readily to back us up. This is a backup plan when staff is not available. Even from electric and plumbing, we have a part-time electrical inspector, part-time plumbing inspector. If they're out, I need a backup plan. That's why we want this. It was mentioned with Chicago Fire. Chicago Fire, in order for them to go to that building, I wanted someone to go in to make sure that those areas were safe. We had a helicopter be installed on the building during the filming. We wanted to make sure that we had adequate staff to go out there. Some of the items that was in that building and what Chicago Fire was doing was beyond some of the scope of our inspectors. So I wanted to make sure qualified people got out there, make sure they look at it, and go from there. I also brought an instructional engineer to help out with that, to make sure that everything's intact. And obviously, it's a straight bill through to Chicago Fire. But nevertheless, what you have before you is just a backup plan. And TPI code consultant just looking for a motion for this to the next board meeting, just to accept them to back up from the inspection process. And obviously, this is a union-ran organization, but we're not here to take jobs from existing staff. It's just more of a backup when needed. Chair.
Trustee Ross.
having an understanding of Mr. Myers' knowledge on this subject, he spent a lot of years doing this kind of work himself. I would then concur with his recommendation and move that this be placed on the regular board meeting agenda for consideration.
Second.
It's been moved by trustee Rogers, second by trustee Rivers, to move forward, with a proposal, utilize PPI building code consultants, provide inspection and plan review services on a temporary basis in the code department. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Trustee Ely Cross.
Question I have is, why do we need a 12-month contract? If this is temporary, wait a minute, it's 12 months.
Well, to answer your question, that this is something that the attorney and I worked out in the contract to make it 12 months. As I indicated, I want it on an as-need basis, meaning if I need them, if staff is not around, I don't have to come back before the board requesting, can I bring someone in? It's just like with the finance department, when we had some field positions there, staff was just able to, we were able to just bring staff in to cover those areas. The only reason it's before you tonight is because this is an agreement, and as far as the agreement, it's something that can be signed off by the mayor. Ours is the manager, this is the form of government, is the board form, manager form of government. If by being a manager form of government, I have authorization to bring staff in. However, I still need sign off from the mayor, and that's why this proposal is before you. To answer your question why it's 12 months, I want the leeway to bring staff in when I need it. In other words, like I give an example, Chicago Fire, I need to bring someone in, not think about it, bring it in, and to be able to perform the inspections and make sure things is in par meeting code.
I have another one. Your memo indicates that we recently had a code officer to retire. So is this not a position that is going to be filled? Has it been posted or?
Good question. The position is posted currently now. We are seeking applicants. What caught us off guard is we had one officer, unfortunately, as indicated, go out on sick leave along with our account specialist.
Okay, and so now with us hiring a permanent full-time village manager, you will be going back into that area, right, to oversee them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is that also going to be a buffer to free up and because you'll be as part of that department, will that free up and give your other staff members, put them in a position where they won't be overtaxed because you'll be down there as well, or how does that work?
From an operations standpoint, yes. This proposal before you is for individuals in the field, going out performing inspections. To answer your question, yes. By me being back in the department, it allowed me to have more control of the day-to-day and to do some of the things I talked about when I started, making the permit process smooth and not having hiccups and looking for projects and different things like that. So,
how long has that position been posted?
the code enforcement position, I want to say last week.
Just
We got to get the exact date on the top of it.
Okay.
Okay, clerk, any more questions? Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Cross,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Jaycox,
Aye.
Trustee Rogers,
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot,
All right.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item number 9, discussion by Police Chief Talley, regarding 2015 one-time liquor tax reduction proposal. Chief Talley's not here, so Deputy Chief Willis is going to give us this discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, good evening, citizens. I'm here tonight in the absence of Chief Talley, and want to bring forth an issue that he wants to bring before the board tonight. I'm going to read a memo that he gave me, and just bear with me. On Tuesday, October 7, 2014, he was engaged in a foot chase with Officer Carlos Patterson on Roosevelt Road in the business district. At that time, he adopted the opportunity to stop into Arts Liquor store and hold a conversation with one of the business partners. The partner is considering opening a restaurant, but stated that they would not consider the village of Maywood due to the high liquor taxes. He passed some information on to Ms. Smith in the Community Development Department to recruit for possible new business without an information. He wanted to bring this to your attention because this is not the first time displeasure with their liquor tax. It is his understanding that the tax was increased from $2,800 in 2009 to $10,000, which is currently in effect today. This was in effect to provide several services with the local need services in the form of heightened police presence. He states that the village was neglectful in providing the police service, while compelling reasons exist for this lack of service, is nevertheless occurred. I therefore would like to propose a one-time liquor tax reduction for the 2015 renewal liquor application process. Some of the positives that comes out of this is promote the community police strategy for assisting the village with revitalizing its business district, which includes making business owners feel the community is clean and safe. Serve to advocate for a thriving commercial district where shoppers take pleasure in attending. Proposal should serve to assist with the recruitment of other businesses. Some of the negative, develop challenges may not be successful. Community does not have buy-in for business district development. Tax will return of the 2016 application. With that being said, the budget impact, the village will sustain a loss of $20,000 that results from the $4,000 reduction of the 5 businesses in 2015 the 2015 liquor license application process only. The 2016 process will return to the $10,000 tax rate to fund and enhance police presence. Unfortunately, this is more than a day-to-day operational request. I therefore ask for your support and seek your assistance with proposal of this concept to go to the next LLOC meeting for consideration. Any other questions?
Yes.
Anybody got any questions? No. Trustee LeCroft?
You probably can't answer this, but I just would like to know, is there a reason why this wasn't submitted directly to the liquor commission?
No, I can't answer that, trustee, I'm
So
sorry.
that's a question that because it seemed like we disregarded proper protocol here, and instead of this coming to the board, it should have went to the liquor commission first to have a discussion and then come to us.
Well, I think it went to, I'm sorry, I'll tell you why. Go ahead.
Sure, I'm concerned about, whereas I appreciate the chief looking out for this, but I think it's more of an economic development issue than a public safety issue. And then I would expect, especially with us in the latter stages of bringing on a village manager, I would expect the village manager to weigh in heavily on this. So I certainly would not be looking to take action on a proposal like this. And in fact, I would expect for public safety head to bring these kinds of suggestions to the village manager or the economic development department and then the village manager on this issue. So that's where I would be looking to receive any economic development from. And I believe that it's important for all of the staff and department heads to have an interest in the village, but I think they need to be channeled into the right place. Just as I would expect for community development to not write a proposal for public safety. I would expect them to channel it back through the right channel so that we know, it's just the right way to do it. But in any case, I wouldn't be looking to do this on the heels of bringing in a new village manager. Liquor taxes and all that stuff is a big deal, and I would expect the new village manager to give a lot of direction on that.
Anybody else have any comment? Okay.
Just want to add, I did provide a copy of the ordinance, or did ask for the board that we have a copy of it, just so you're aware.
Okay, and my statement is this. Probably why it came to the board was because the board made the decision to raise the liquor license application amount. With the policing services provided, because that was what they were requesting, and we knew that was going to cost us additional money. Okay, I think the economic impact is something else to consider in a whole different fashion and be a weigh-in terms license fee before the end of the year, because licenses are purchased in December or January. So that's the only financial impact that we have to address. And no, it doesn't come from the liquor commission. The board imposes the liquor license fee, just like we impose the fees of everything else, whether it's village stickers or whatever. That's the board's decision. Okay? So that was why this is an issue right now. But taking into consideration what you said about the economic impact of new development and stuff like that, that's something completely separate in its own way. I can appreciate the chief pointing those things out as part of our consideration, but the fee is definitely on us, period. Trustee McGraw?
I agree with what you're saying here, but here again, I mean, this is something that, coming through another department head should not be taking on the ownership of this and just channeling it to the appropriate area. And I said, and the reason why I started with liquor commission is because this is where it initially started. We need to keep that.
No, it didn't start with liquor commission.
Well,
It started
I
with the
said
board
we
on
need to
the
keep,
fees.
well, they weren't included here, and all I'm saying is that we need to have the liquor commission a part of this, because they start the process in the applications. They can feed in some information to us, and so when we arrive at making a decision of whether we want to weigh reducing anything, we have more information concerning that particular issue and that particular establishment in particular. And that's all I'm saying is that it just seemed like we were all over. We took the information, but then instead of it channeling in the appropriate place, it came with its own recommendations.
And I understand what everybody is saying, and we all know Chief Talley. We know he likes to get out there in the community and do what he does. And I think one of the reasons why this came about, and I'm not going to try to speak for him, but after speaking with these business partners and these owners out here and stuff like that, if you look at your monthly reports, we have on part of it has I think close to the last page, it shows you that when this was first proposed, that we actually provide a service to these establishments of public service. Over the years, because of extenuating circumstances, we've been unable to do that. And I think that's what he was trying to address tonight on the public safety side. I don't think he wanted to step into nobody else's arena and try to tell them how to do their job. I think he was just speaking on the public safety. You know what? We say we can provide a service. You know what? And one of the reasons why we can't provide that service now is because some of the extenuating circumstances that we actually going through. And I think that's where we are on that right now.
And on that basis, I can appreciate his input, and it is some consideration because this has come up with some other establishments that are that hold liquor licenses. And as we put forth anything, as we listen to our constituents, we have to take into consideration what they're saying. And also the fee that we had imposed and the services that we promised to provide. If we didn't do it, then we need to go back and tweak it and still make things beneficial to the business owner and our community as well. So I think that what we need to do is make a recommendation to invite the liquor commission to send us any concerns that they might have. And as we discuss this and the possibility of lowering the liquor license fee, we do this by next month and bring it back to LLOC for discussion. Do I hear anything from anybody? Yep.
You asked for this to be tabled until the next LLOC meeting.
More discussion in terms of some fees, and that will give us some time to think about what we might want to do under $10,000, keep it, lower it, or whatever. But we have to make a decision before December because the application process is in December.
So,
Before January 1.
will the chief give us any additional, can we make something to the chief, any additional information he can give? This is his proposal.
In terms of service, providing services.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and
That
based
would
on
help us,
that,
that would help us kind of come up with some kind of figure, as well as, some recommendations from the liquor commission if they had something. But that would be helpful in terms of us trying to come up with a fee.
I think you got it.
Is that
That's
what you're saying?
exactly what I'm.
Okay,
So we'll have two entities with some more input.
right, before we make a, decision and make a recommendation. Trustee DeCross?
Can we have, Mr. Myers, see that the liquor commission received a copy of
Yes.
Chief's memo and ask, that they share
And
some light
can
on
you give them a
the
deadline
information?
to get their recommendations in, because we do have to move forward with this, in our, November LLOC meeting.
And let them know it's a deadline.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so, we take, motion on that?
Madam Pro Tem,
Trustee Rivers?
I make a, motion to, revisit and move to the next regular, LLOC, the one-time liquor tax reduction proposal with the input from, further input from Chief Talley and input from the liquor commission.
Need a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second to, refer the, 2015 one-time liquor tax reduction proposal to the next LLOC meeting with additional information from Chief Talley on, police services and, input in writing from the liquor commission, with a stipulated deadline for that information coming from the liquor commission. Do I hear any questions?
Yeah,
Trustee Rogers?
and I think that to understand that we will be getting a proposal from the village manager that embraces the input of the public safety department head and any other appropriate department heads, as well as the liquor commission's input for consideration. That's what we want. And that- Okay. That's what I would be looking to see, so.
Okay, well, I think Mr. Mayor, take that advice and pass that information along, we can have all those particulars for our discussion. Okay, clerk call roll.
Trustee LaCrosse,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Jacobs,
Aye.
Trustee Rogers,
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot,
Understand.
Trustee Rivers,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Chief.
Deputy Chief Willis. Okay, moving on to item number 10, discussion of the fiscal year 2014 Cook County Community Development Block Grant. The Village Board will be considering a resolution authorizing the receipt of $400,000 in community development block grant funds for the Washington Boulevard improvements between 6th Avenue to 5th Avenue.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. What we have before you is a sub-recipient agreement from the county to receive the $400,000 to improve Washington Boulevard from 6th to 9th area. Looking for a motion to forward this to the regular board meeting to accept the resolution.
Chair,
Trustee Rogers.
my understanding is that this is sort of a statutory obligation in order to move this, already considered project forward, and that we just got to make sure that we have an agreement prepared.
Yes.
That being the case, then I would move that we send this matter to the regular board for consideration on execution of approval. And I'll clarify that, I'll clarify that. It's the motion to recommend to the entire village board the adoption of the proposed resolution to authorize the subrecipient agreement for this community development block grant program.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved by Trustee Rogers, second by Trustee Rivers, to move to the next regular board meeting, the adoption of the fiscal year 2014 Cook County Community Development Block Grant. Resolution authorizing the receipt of $400,000 for the Washington Boulevard improvement between 6th and 9th Avenue.
Do I have any questions?
Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Cross,
Abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Jacobs,
Aye.
Trustee Rogers,
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot,
Aye.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, item number 11, discussion regarding the Cook County Hazard Mitigation Program by Fire Chief Craig Brown.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Chief.
The Cook County Multi-Jurisdictional All Hazards Mitigation Plan has been in the developmental stages for a little over a year now. This plan was developed under a grant from the Illinois Emergency Management Agency by a planning team of Cook County, Homeland Security, and Emergency Management staff and consultants. The Cook County of, I'm asking that the village, that you approve that the village be a part of this plan. The Cook County Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management is implementing the county's first multi-jurisdictional all hazards mitigation plan. The Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management contracted with Tetra Tech to facilitate the planning process and draft the hazard mitigation plan. The plan is designed to support the county's emergency preparedness measures, improving response and recovery throughout the county, including right here in the village of Maywood. The purpose of mitigation planning is to identify policies and actions that can be implemented over the long term to reduce risk and future losses. Mitigation plans form the foundation for a community's long-term strategy to reduce disaster losses and break the cycle of disaster damage, reconstruction, and repeated damage. The planning process is as important as the plan itself. The plan creates a framework for risk-based decision making to reduce damage to lives, property, and the economy from future disasters. The mission of the Cook County Hazard Mitigation Plan, the mission is to identify risk and sustainable, cost-effective actions to mitigate the impact of natural hazards in order to protect the life, health, safety, and welfare, and again, the economy of the communities of Cook County, again, right here in the village of Maywood. The plan is designed to benefit county residents by, again, identifying cost-effective actions for risk reduction, focusing resources on the greatest risks and vulnerabilities, building partnerships by involving people, organizations, and businesses, increasing education and awareness of hazards and risks, communicating priorities to state and federal officials, aligning risk reduction with other community objectives. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Mayor Pro Tem, may I add, just so you would, Chief Brown did provide me with a copy of the Village of Maywood Annex, Chapter 61, correct?
Yes, and I'm hoping that you were able to distribute that to the trustees?
Yes,
Okay.
everyone have one, and I did lay it on the desk prior to the meeting, so you have it. Can you kind of just explain this, Chief, what exactly?
Well, it's basically a profile of the town, a profile, and I would ask that the village attorney feel free to either confirm or correct me on any of this. It's basically a profile and a history of the town. It discusses the population, again, the history, and where our village fits, where the annex fits within the hazard mitigation plan.
In this program, there's a resolution, a draft resolution that I, for the chief's direction, I've updated that and I've sent it to the manager for, if you're gonna participate in this Cook County Hazard Mitigation Program, you gotta adopt their resolution, so it's gotta be customized to your community. I did that earlier today and shipped it off for both the chief and the manager. You need to adopt this plan if your community cost to join or any cost to continue to participate. It's really just, you gotta get your foot in the door to be eligible to seek reimbursement. This is the mechanism you have to prove to actually be eligible as a community and for the residents. And so, there's 115 different cooperating entities.
Yes.
This opportunity has been made available to all Cook County, different Cook County municipalities and other entities that are being asked to be participating jurisdictions, they call it. So, as the chief indicated, it's a hazard mitigation plan that addresses kind of the county on a global basis. If the village approves this resolution, you will, you're actually mentioned in the plan in a particular chapter, you will activate your participant status, and then you'll be eligible to get federal funding. And that's really the key. This is really a federal law. Disaster management was changed a couple of years ago, and communities across the nation weren't in sync with the federal reimbursement law. This is trying to get everybody in sync with the federal reimbursement law. So it's recommended that you approve it.
And to add to that, thank you for that. To add to that, not only reimbursement, but I think also there'll be grant monies available in the event you wanted to maybe do some infrastructural improvement within the community that may help lessen or even totally eliminate the impact that a natural or man-made disaster may have on the community.
Okay, have any other questions? Can I entertain a motion?
All right. I would move that we send the matter for the Cook County Hazard Mitigation Program to the regular board meeting for consideration. Sorry. Mr. Attorney, do I need to specifically talk about this and the annex portion of this in the motion?
What you said is enough, because what's going to come in your packet next week will be a specific resolution that adopts the Cook County mitigation plan in that particular annex. You'll have all the verbiage in there, and then you can just approve the resolution by title next week. So your motion was fine.
Okay, it's been moved by trustee Rogers, second by trustee Lightford. To move forward to the regular board meeting for approval, the Cook County Hazard Mitigation Program adoption. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Ely Cross,
Abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Jacob,
Aye.
Trustee Rogers,
Aye.
Trustee Lightford, Trustee Rivers,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Chief Brunner.
Thank you, Chief.
Item number 12, which I know some people have been waiting for us to get here, is discussion regarding the pre-authorization of a proposed daycare center located at 1919 St. Charles Road, requesting a special use permit in the C2 zoning district.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. What we have before you is the pre-authorization for planning and zoning. That's what we're requesting. We have the background of Mr. Mary Wilson, requesting a special use permit for a daycare center located in C2 zoning. The unit is Unit G and B, currently vacant, is part of the strip mall. The unit has been occupied in the past by a restaurant. The proposed daycare center will have 8 employees, along with 36 to 40 students and children. The existing square footage is roughly about 1,800 square feet. The owner is a certified, state of Illinois, DCF certified on the Department of Health. The existing parking lot requires 6 parking spaces, which they have. The owner also provided pictures of the daycare, along with our planner, Carl Conquest, provided a Google Earth shot in your packet of the layout. Just highest and best, the project is in accordance with 2008 comprehensive plan for commercial area. The zoning is C2. Daycare center is permitted in the C2. However, we request a special use. proposed use of borders is a C2 pedestrian commercial. To the west is C2 commercial pedestrian, along with the south is R5 multifamily. We're looking to have this project moved to the, allow pre-authorization to allow this project to go to planning and zoning. I'm sorry, Carl, if you want to add anything, go for it, sir.
Well, I feel that you had summed it up pretty aptly.
Okay.
And the applicant has also been approved for a special use for a daycare center before in the village of Maywood at 2001 St. Charles Road, just to the west. And so I would like to see this recommended to the planning zoning board of appeals for deliberation and recommendation on a special use permit.
Thank you. So again, what we're seeking pre-authorization to move this to planning, to the next planning and zoning meeting so they can further deliberate and evaluate the project.
Chair,
Trustee Rogers.
I will concur with the recommendation of our planning official and move that this matter be moved to the regular board meeting, or to the planning and zoning for consideration by the body.
Moved by Trustee Rogers. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved by Trustee Rogers, second by Trustee Lightford, to approve the pre-authorization of a proposed daycare center located at 1919 St. Charles Road, requesting a special use permit in the C2 zoning district, moved to the Planning and Zoning Commission for deliberation and a recommendation on this special use from section 8.2 of the zoning ordinance. Anybody have any questions?
Madam Pro Tem,
Trustee Rivers.
is the petition, you were supposed to, how you doing? Basically two questions. Are you still the proprietor of the daycare center across the street on the corner?
No.
Oh, that's, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not.
So that's closed and you just want to move?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
because of the structural conditions. We want to move across the street.
Gotcha. And, the other good question, don't take offense to this, because I know you've been there, you know, and that's a hot corner. So, I mean, is there anything that we need to do for the security, for your security, for your clients, for the kids that are there? You know what I'm saying? I mean, is there anything that, because I want to see you get it. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but I know that is an ongoing situation, and I don't want anything to come up. So I'm saying, have you considered maybe speaking with the village manager or the police chief or something, and having something? I don't know.
Yes, I did in the past, and it ceased when we was there. I mean, until I guess we closed our doors at 6 p.m. So we didn't really have too much of a problem or anything. They respected us.
Okay. And the daycare center it's a lockdown. It's on a lockdown basis, right?
Yes,
Okay. I mean, a buzz-in door and all of that.
yes, we're going to have all that buzzing and all of that.
I imagine the state requires it. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Chair.
Trustee Rogers.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo Trustee Rivers and basically ask that during the process of the zoning and planning, one of the things that I like to look for, and I think you should prepare yourself to make a compelling case as possible about why this is good and why this is safe. And so that's just a tip to prepare you, because when we look into the documents, they do most of the heavy lifting in terms of scrutinizing all of those things. They hold the public hearing and all the rest of that. And so if the commissioners don't ask that, I think that you should volunteer that because we want in our records before us that those issues have been addressed. And so if you can get some concurrence from public safety officers or anybody that helps to make your case a good solid one, that makes
We have our own security.
well,
I mean,
and I don't want to do it now, I'm just giving you a tip to make sure that you bring these points up so that they'll be in the record. Because we don't get to, we won't ask you all of those questions then. And if it's in the record, we won't need to. But when it comes to something like daycare or whatever, we've got to be, we've got to be responsible with that kind of thing. And I don't want the record to show it. It was nothing in here that made me feel it was safe. So I'm giving you the tip to make sure that stuff gets in there. So we're not in a position where we're asked to vote or concur with this, and there's nothing in there that really speaks to that. So, and I trust that you will be at that and make sure that those kinds of things are addressed.
Thank you, Trustee Rogers. Mr. Palmer will make sure it's in the PAC report.
I have one question too. First, what are your hours of operation going to be?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, and also, going for planning and zoning, isn't there something that states that you either have to have an outside or indoor playground kind of area? There's something about that, so I mean, we want to make sure that that's covered as well.
She had, I had spoken to the applicant earlier today, and she mentioned that the third room listed was going to be a playroom area.
The what?
The third room.
Okay, is that here on the,
It's in the
in our diagram?
So it's not, it wasn't labeled at the time, and I told her.
Okay, because I would recommend that you do that, because those are one of the questions that we would be asking. I mean, since you're here before, we're trying to prepare you to have all your stuff, lined up, because those are some of the questions that we have to ask. There's a,
We have to have all of that lined up for DCFS. So we have a plan in place for all of that. They require that we use not only just the inside facility, but a surrounding area park. So we have already identified a park that we're going to make sure that it's secure before we take the kids out. We have security who's going to go there, who's going to search the area for debris and all of that.
Okay, all right. Well, just knowing that's a requirement, I just want to make sure that's included, because as Trustee Rogers said, if you can do your due diligence with planning and zoning, it stops us from having to review some things and sending it back to them and then coming back to us once again. So since you're here, if you can make sure that all that's taken care of, that'll help us tremendously.
Okay, because in the past, we never had a problem with that. With prayer, it works.
You got the amen corner, amen.
It does, I'm serious. When everything else fails, prayer works. That's what we've been working on.
We got you.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions?
I have one question.
Trustee Lee Crawford?
And that's just on the application. It's check number 3, as owner, since she is a tenant, should that be under other agent? Because you're a tenant, you don't own the actual property.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Is that Ms. Myers?
Okay, we address that. We'll address it. Thank you. Item number 3 on the application. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All good. We appreciate all your comments, board.
Any more questions? Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, there was a motion on the floor.
I'm thanking her for, okay, you can have a seat.
Thank you. Thank you, board.
Okay, clerk call the roll.
Trustee Lee Cross,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Jacobs,
Aye.
Trustee Rogers,
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot,
Aye.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, village attorney's report. Number 1, discussion of the engagement letter between the village of Maywood and the law firm of Klein Thorpe and Jenkins for legal services provided for the village of Maywood.
In your packet is a engagement letter dated September 3rd. I prepared this, there have been requests, concerns about whether the engagement letter that currently exists is valid. I've addressed that on numerous times. Yes, the relationship is valid. It's a month-to-month terminable at-will relationship. My hourly rates that are charged go back to 2007. There hasn't been an adjustment in those rates since that time. This board hasn't approved those. I would disagree. The board approves my bills on a monthly basis, and that reaffirms the arrangement on a monthly basis. It is a month-to-month basis, but I offer this letter that restates the hourly rates that are still in effect and have been in effect since 2007, and I offer it to you to take action if you deem it to be appropriate.
Questions?
Board? Mayor Pro Tem?
Trustee LaCroix?
I sent Attorney Jerusik a request to provide copies of the original engagement letter, letter of intent, or whatever it was called, that in the initial signing of an agreement between the Village of Maywood and Ron George Jenkins. We have not received that. Can he respond as to why?
Yeah, you sent that email to me today. I actually provided that information to you in an email in November of 2013, so I provided it to you before. I have it here with you tonight. You also asked about a Joe Ponsetto letter. You were looking for a memo that was cited in a letter that I wrote addressing Joe Ponsetto's change to my engagement, which eliminated the retainer and put me on an hourly basis for all work. There is no memo from Joe Ponsetto. That was a verbal direction from him that ultimately the board agreed with because I changed my billing to comply with the direction of the manager at the time, and the village board continued to approve the bills on a monthly basis consistent with that change and the direction of the manager at that time. So I have addressed your request today. The document that you asked for from 2001 was provided to you already. I did bring another copy for you tonight. And with respect to your other request in your email today, there is no such document. You have all the documents. I provided you with all the engagement letters and the amending correspondence since 2001. That was all provided to you and the board in a prior email in November of 2013 when you first requested it.
Madam Pro Tem, I'm sorry, I have never received the initial one that I keep asking for. So since you have a copy of it now, you want to give it to me? And then the second issue that I have is because this decision will have a great financial impact on the taxpayers of this community, should we not have this reviewed by outside counsel to ensure that this is the best interest for the village? I think that given that this is a legal agreement, just as all the other legal documents that we have addressed, made a motion and approved and voted on, this is another one that is going to be presented for approval. And because client court represents us, they certainly can't give us legal advice on the work that they're doing for us. That would be a conflict. So I cannot see how this board would be willing to approve this without having it looked at by outside legal counsel to ensure that it is in the best interest of the village. So with that, that's it. I can make a motion.
Any other discussion?
Ma'am,
Trustee Lightfoot?
this proposal's been the same rate since, what year?
2007, it is substantially below the rates that we charge.
And you haven't charged us anything since then, you haven't let us in.
As a consideration of some of the financial reflects the fact that this board will have approved the rate structure that's been in place since 2007. No one has.
Chair.
Trustee Rogers.
Chair, I'm of the opinion that this is more than fair, and I would be in favor of not only, I'm saying thank you for the services that have been rendered and partnering with us in our role of making good decisions. And being that this firm is one of the foremost and most reputable in the state and most resourceful in the state, I think that we are fortunate to have their services, because when you represent so many communities, when you are so instrumental in the municipal leagues and the legal community, we actually benefit from that. And I think it's highly commendable that, as difficult as we are to work with, that they would hold these rates. The assumption that there's been a lack of scrutiny on this, I simply don't agree with. I have legal counsel, they're friends, so I don't know that we necessarily have to, the assumption that the homework isn't being done is just that. We get these things, we have them, we have the opportunity from the moment that we receive them to do our homework. That's what I do, and I'm going to assume that most of my colleagues do the same thing. With that being the case, I would move that we send this proposal for adoption at the regular board meeting.
Second.
Moved by trustee Rogers, second by that end down there. I have to pick one, like I always do, life work. Okay, to move to accept the letter of engagement between the Village of Maywood and the law firm of Kleinthorpe and Jenkins for legal services provided to the Village of Maywood, with the letter dated September 3rd, 2014. Is that it? To the regular board meeting for approval. Are there any questions?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Trustee Lee Cross?
I cannot accept having this board make a decision without having looked at any of the documentation that has just been presented to them. This is not information that was presented before, and looks like it's a good 125, 130 pages at least. And so there's an old saying, and I'm sure the attorney even knows this from being an attorney, you just don't co-sign and sign off on documents that you haven't reviewed. And there's a serious question with regard to the letter that has been presented to us today that is dated September 3rd. It refers to information dating back, but there's no documentation to substantiate it. So we're only getting one side of whether this is an actual action by the previous administration. And I think that an attorney would tell his client, if it's truly representing them well, is not to sign on the dotted line unless you're sure. And I'm not sure on this because there's several things in the paragraphs to this particular letter that indicate that things are not as stated. Mr. Poncetta is referenced in this letter, but yet now all of a sudden there is no agreement, no letter. Attorneys don't do verbals like this. Mr. Jerusik knows it just as well as I do. And I've been been in the legal field for over 25 years, and I also served in the administration of the Illinois Attorney General under 3 different Attorney Generals. So I do know what I'm talking about when I make a reference here. In addition,